I'm gonna show you what you can do with this wide-angle lens on your iPhone, and perhaps to let you know if you should actually consider buying an iPhone with this ultra-wide-angle lens, or what exactly can you do with this. You see, all of the latest iPhones have that, and if you know nothing more that is just able to take wide photos, then this video is right for you. This is Lucas from Apple Fox, and let's get started. Okay, so by the wide-angle lens, I mean, of course, the ultra-wide-angle lens, because that one is actually what's called ultra-wide, and the classic one here is like the main lens, but that one is called wide already, so this has to be ultra-wide, if that makes sense. So what the devices do actually have it to make this part clear. So obviously the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max when it comes to the iPhones. But as you probably know, iPad Pro 2020 has been released, which also has ultra-wide-angle lens. Why did they put it there? To be honest, I don't know, but maybe it was for some like 3D modeling and stuff like that, so it may be useful for some people, even though iPads are not really used for photos or videos. Let me know if you use it or what you feel about the ultra-wide-angle lens, whether you use it on your iPhone 11 or any other device that actually has it. Let me know down below in the comments what you feel about it and if you actually would recommend anyone getting an iPhone with this. But what you should know pretty much is that it's just gonna give you like an action camera look, you know, when you are using the GoPro, or you can see like jumping off of an airplane and everything is so rounded, you get so much in the frame, and you can see many things. It's just so wide. I mean, yeah, this is the look that we are going for with this ultra wide angle lens, but so far I think that everything is clear for you. What may not be clear for every single person out there who isn't really used to iPhone or don't know which lens is actually the ultra wide, it's this one to the right. On the iPhone 11 is the one at the bottom, because there we only have the dual lens setup, and on other iPhones we don't have that. So all of the cameras have 12 megapixel sensor, but what makes them different is of course the aperture and the use. Like, I already made a video about the telephoto lens, you can take a look at it there. I talk about all of the uses and all of the stuff what you can do with the telephoto lens. I think that video is actually very interesting to watch, but like I said, the aperture is different on every single lens. The main camera lens that you're going to be using about 80% of the time has the aperture of f1.8, meaning that the most light can actually get there. The telephoto lens has the aperture of f2.0, and the ultra wide has the aperture of f2.2. So in like, it's gonna be a lot grainier, given that the conditions aren't the best, meaning that you do not get enough lighting for the photos. Then the ultra wide is gonna give you the worst results out of all of these. But I don't really think that it matters that much, because the use and the unique look of the photos taken out of this ultra wide camera are really better, even though it's a little grainy. So it's like a different viewpoint on this camera. So for the people which are not that experienced with iPhones, if you just open up the camera like this, you can see we have a couple of basic options here at the bottom. Here you of course can see that we have 1x, 2x, or 0.5. You click on the number 2, it's going to use the telephoto lens and it's going to zoom in. But on the other hand, if you click on 0.5, you can see we have this really wide look, and we are pretty much using the ultra wide angle lens. And like I said, it's this one at the right, so if I cover it with my finger, nothing is going to happen, you cannot see it. I mean, yes, this sounds kind of obvious, but in the telephoto lens video I talked about a phenomenon, which is that if you place your finger on the telephoto lens while you are zoomed in, the cameras will automatically switch to the main lens. You can see right now, even though I click on 2x, it doesn't really have to use the telephoto lens, so it just switches to the main camera lens. So it's kind of really intuitive, but it doesn't work the same with the ultra wide, but I guess it's just okay. What's interesting is that you can use your finger and swipe like this, and it just tries to blend in the look of 3 different lenses together, and iPhone is actually doing a great job at this, to be honest. I didn't really expect it to be that good once they announced that something like this is possible, but yeah, you can easily switch between the lenses, even though you have like 3 completely different viewpoints of like the lens, but you can see it's pretty smooth, to be honest. Like if you go from 1x to a little bit this way, you can see there is a jump right there. Like obviously you're switching between lenses, but if you do it like quick enough, then you won't really notice anything, and it just is really smooth. Like, what can I say? For the people that don't really know, you can use the ultra wide angle lens no matter if you are taking a photo or if you are recording a video, slow motion, time lapse, and also all of the other stuff. I will just be talking about that, but keep in mind that, for example, right now you can see I am recording a video and I click on 0.5, it just zooms out very nicely here. But if I click on slow motion, for example, it switches back to 1x, which is kind of annoying. It happens the same way when you're using the 2x optical zoom using the telephoto lens, but I don't think there is anything what we can do with this as of right now. With the portrait mode, it's actually a little bit different. You're not able to use the ultra wide angle lens. Portrait photo is a completely different story. You don't get or don't try to get as much into the frame as possible. What you try to do in the portrait mode is to separate the object from the background to make that a really nice, soft, blurry background, which is like the look of a DSLR photo. At least it tries to imitate the look, so obviously you don't have that here. But in the panorama mode, you have the option to go for ultra wide, and as you know, the panorama mode is actually here to allow you to take as much information into one photo. So you physically turn around with your phone in your hand and you capture as much as possible. And with the ultra wide, you are getting so much into the frame that it's just going to be a little bit overwhelming at times. So keep that in mind. Probably not the best use, even though you can see the area or the length is shorter. If you compare it to this, you have so much room to move around, but yeah, it just really makes sense that with the ultra wide, you don't really have that much space to turn around because the photo would just look ridiculous. When it comes to some other settings in the ultra wide mode, you don't really need to worry about anything. Right now I am at 1x, which is the basic camera lens, and I can swipe up and get these filters and stuff, so it's actually nice that you have it. So just like you can see, you can switch to ultra wide and the very same filters, the very same stuff that you would have with the classic lens. Settings like these, you can set up the timer, no big deal. You can use the flash with this, the same stuff. No need to worry about it. You can even use the live photos using the ultra wide angle lens, but the photos and videos behave completely the same when you take them and when you take a look at them in your gallery. It's just a basic photo. It doesn't matter which lens you use to take it. So what would you use this for? Or if the question is how exactly can you use or take use of the lens so you get the best results, or what is the purpose of this lens? Obviously, it's a wide-angle lens. It means that it is allowing you to take as much information as possible and put it into the frame, which doesn't mean that the photo is going to be huge or anything in size, in megabytes. It just means that more stuff can actually fit there because it's a bigger lens. Like, I'm not sure if that needs more explanation. It's kind of obvious for everybody, but I realized that I use it a lot more than I expected. If I had to compare it with like the telephoto lens, which is another lens on an iPhone that I use, I don't find myself using that one that often. Sometimes when I really need to zoom in, I use the telephoto lens for the optical zoom and all of that. It's nice, I guess, but the ultra wide is going to give you so much, and it's just really nice. For example, if you stand in a room which is really small, or when you want to take a photo and you don't really have much space to move back and take a photo of some subjects and stuff, it's just the perfect use of the ultra wide lens. Now, are there any tips that I could give you? Probably, yeah. I would just tell you not to use it in very dark condition. Like I said, it doesn't really handle a lack of light very well. You can only get very grainy photos, and it's just not gonna look the best. Even though it's gonna be wide and everything, you would probably make a better choice if you just chose the classic lens. The ultra wide lens can give you very weird shots and angles. Like, it can really distort some objects if you put them very close to the camera. Like, if you take a look, for example, at this AirPod, if I just snap a photo like this, or make it look weird. I mean, it's just gonna make it really long. It really depends on the angle and how you take a photo, but it's just gonna look a little differently. That's obvious because it's supposed to look different. But like I said, like I mentioned, the example with the room, which is really tiny, you can really just capture the entire room with this lens, and it's just gonna give you some really nice shot. If you send someone a photo using the telephoto lens, it's gonna give them the feeling that the area you are in is a lot more spacious, but it doesn't really have to be the case in reality. So another tip I would give you is to not use it with third-party apps if they actually support it at first place. So if you are using Instagram or anything else, this is probably not the best idea to use it. Just take the photo in the camera. It's going to work the best because it's from Apple, it's stock app, it's just optimized, and then upload it to Snapchat, to Instagram, send it through WhatsApp or whatever you use. But just don't bear with this. It's up to developers to actually implement it into their apps, which doesn't really happen a lot of times, and if it does, it's probably not the best. So I would just advise you to use the classic camera app. But now, what is the bottom line? I love this lens, and there isn't anything what I could say that is wrong with this one. If it had like a little better performance in lower light and conditions without enough lighting, then it would just be a lot better, but I guess I cannot have everything I say or I wish for, so it's just how it is. It's a great lens. Last year we didn't even have that, and I just didn't know how much I would love it, but yeah, it's great. And like I said, if I compare it to the iPhone 10, which has the dual lens setup only with the telephoto lens, I would most definitely pick iPhone 11, even with the same dual lens setup, but the telephoto lens on the iPhone 11 is replaced with the ultra wide lens, and I love it. I would just really love that instead of the telephoto. It's my opinion, it's my bottom line. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments. Support the video with your thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so you don't miss future content and future videos. Thank you so much for watching and your support. You are amazing. Stay safe and see you guys later. Peace out.